Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Adrian Dyer, and my topic today is working with grandparents-headed family and raising children. Now, today my audience is a group of parliamentarians and policy makers. Let's jump into the agenda for today. So on the agenda for today, we have learning outcomes, topic overview, demographic statistics about the population, the topic on the population, the challenges that the population faces. Then we will explore how issues of trauma, discrimination, and stigma affect this population. Additional challenges of racial and ethnic more minority children and families are experiencing these issues. Then we will look at how counselors can strengthen resilience of the children and their families who faces these risks and stress and potential challenges, persistent challenges. Then I will end with two lingering questions for the class to interact with. Let's jump into the learning objectives for today. So one, characterize the demography of grandparents maintained households. Then we will familiarize ourselves with the preceding overview, the mental health and caregiving concerns of custodial grandparents and are recognized, and show how trauma, stigma, and discrimination affect these families. Then we will discover how counselors can cultivate resilience in multi-generational families. Now, what will we take away from this presentation? One, attendees will learn about essential demographic figures. Learners will identify three prevalent psychosocial issues of these families. Attendees will explore the influence of culture and system on racial and ethnic minority grandparents. And lastly, learners will identify two counseling approaches to encourage resilience. Let's jump into the overview. The overview gives you a short synopsis of the entire presentation. Now, today this presentation examines the key contributions mental health counselors give when working with grandparent-headed families. So, which is an extended population of families in our country today because many of the parents are either incarcerated, suffering or struggling with substance abuse, addiction, or economical woes. More than 2.6 million children are raised by their grandparents, and many suffer from financial constraints, emotional distress, inadequate services. Children of children very often experience behavioral and social emotional challenges due to intergenerational trauma. Such struggles heighten the ethnic minority families as they are confronted with systemic racism, cultural stigma, insecure communities. Sources through the latest research that I have gathered, the presentation identified ways in which counselors can encourage resilience through a trauma-informed approach, providing psychoeducation, support group, and culturally responsive techniques. There is a need for more effective interventions considering the intergenerational dynamic and social context. Policy recommendations include increased access to target mental health care and improve cross-sectoral cooperations. This presentation also highlights the necessity for systemic change and professional advocacy to address these at-risk families and encourage lifelong wellness. Are we here so far? Okay, let's jump into the demographics and statistics of this population. So before I jump into it, let me just give you some overview here. So as we mentioned before, over 2.6 million children are being raised by their grandparents. 7.1 million grandparents live with grandchildren, and 1 in 5 live in poverty. And over 60% are all over age 55 years old. And some of the barriers that they will face, why they come in play. You may ask, why? Because biological parents may be incarcerated. Many are struggling again, as I said before, with substance addiction, mental illness, or some already passed on to the next life. And also, there's a strong factor at play, economic instability. So, parental substance use is one of the leading reasons for child placement with grandparents today. And this came from Child Trend 2023. So let's jump in. We did mention, give you the statistics. So what are some of the challenges you may ask yourself that these families may face? So again, many of these grandparents, they are already retired or on their way to retirement. And now they are stuck with these children, probably by choice or not by choice. So now they will have to tap into their 401k, their pension plan, or whatever savings that they have to take full care of these children. And as we know, our economic system today, cost of living is very high. And this will put a dent in their finances, and there won't be enough money for them to live out their lifespan. So there is a underlying issue here. Yes, you may say the grandparents are not looking on the money, but they're more doing it for the love. But yes, doing it for the love, but you're still not addressing the underlying issue because there's gonna be a lack in your finances and you are gonna be out of money. And now you are unable to work. The workforce, all at this moment struggle with ageism. So once you reach over 65, many organizations just don't want to employ you anymore because of your physical and psychological limitations, right? And this leads into poor mental health, isolation, generalized anxiety, social anxiety. There is a stress, extreme stress, which can put the body into a difficult position where other medical issues can be induced because of the high level of stress in the body. Let's jump into the impact of trauma and discrimination. So here, trauma, children who suffers from trauma, and trauma can be abuse, loss of a family member, the inability to do something because of your disability or because of a car accident. Now, grandparents may have unresolved trauma from their own childhood, and probably they don't know about that. That is contributing to whatever they're experiencing because, again, there's such a strong stigma around mental health, especially among Caribbean or West Indies families. Now, children will have behavioral issues that are often misunderstood or overly diagnosed because of stereotypes. So let's jump here. So many grandparents-headed families are characterized, as I said before, by trauma exposure, such as parental substance abuse, some may be incarcerated, which impact the emotional well-being of both generations. Custodial grandparents are often stigmatized by ageism. You know, put yourself in this position. You bring your 8-year-old to teachers' conference or teachers' meeting or a fun day. Everybody will look at your grandma or your grandpa and was like, you know, they're stigmatized. Oh, that's your parents. Your parents are old. Your parents are, they will make fun of you. And then the child will either act out, become a bully, or social withdrawal, or self-conflicting injuries on themselves because of this pressure. And it is not of their fault. Now we have racial and ethnic minority families that are impacted by uh, the intersecting discrimination. So, say for example, you have a grandparent, they are running out of funds and they try to apply for SNAP. Now they approach the SNAP office, and when they went in, probably eyesight is not the best, and the staff is hasting because they have a lot of people to serve, and they will not give the extended time to pay attention to this one person. So they will just tell the person either come back another day or you are not qualified for services. So these are just a one example of many that can happen. Now, additional challenges that we can have, this population can experience. And one is that Hispanic and Native American families, most of them they come to this country to seek a better life, and because the language barrier, many of them don't have their education. Some do have the education, but it is very challenging for them to learn the English language and be proficient enough to communicate and get a job. One, they cannot get a job so easily because they are undocumented. They don't have the correct authorization to work in this country. So they have to depend on working under the table. You may ask, what is under the table? So under the table is somebody who knows somebody who wants somebody to do some cleaning, do some carpentry, and then they will pay you money off the books. That is what is called under the table. So this is how the family go by. And again, they are not privy to any social resources such as SNAP, so they won't be able to get any SNAP benefits for their children. And of such, they don't have childcare services again because of their circumstance. So many of these families, they're struggling, yes, with substance use, they're struggling with mental health, but they don't have insurance. And without insurance, you cannot get mental health services in this country. And it's a disservice. And this is why many of the immigrants you see in this country are immigrant grandparents, they're alcoholics, they are drug users because the stress that builds up in their body, they try to use something, some substance to numb themselves from not facing or feeling what is going on in reality. And this is just not doing well for their body. Now, on the left here, we can see the counselor is interacting with a couple who is a grandparent. So we need, as counselors, we need to go in and work with these families, teach these families, provide psychoeducation, um, trauma-informed approach, how to identify stress, teach them how to define or develop coping mechanisms, how I can handle my stress, how can I, get additional services. So as a counselor, you can go in and do an assessment, and based on your assessment, you can make referrals. So you can make referrals to social services for these grandparents where they will have an assigned case manager. Assigned case manager will help them with insurance recertification, SNAP recertification. They may link them to services for the children, such as school free lunch, um, tutoring, doctor's appointment, and most of these case managers, they're fluent, they're bilingual. So if the family speaks Spanish, then you will have a worker that can help them navigate the complexities of the medical and social service system in this country, because I strongly believe that it will alleviate some of the stressors placed on these grandparents. So again, the counselor can the family to build family resilience. It can be strengthened through support again from the mental health practitioner. Then we use this evidence-based to guide our practice as practitioners. So we try to tailor our treatment plan or tailor the information that we're going to give to the specific family, because not all families are the same or facing the same circumstance. So again, we provide psychoeducation, we normalize stress responses, and give coping resources to have healthy grandparents, because we need them around to stick around for these children. Uh, then we have trauma-specific family therapy to enhance grandparents-grandchild relationship and manage any behavioral problems that may surface. So giving the grandparents an avenue to get support, whether it's from a social group, whether it's from you know, other grandparents who have the same problem, they can share with each other as a community and learn from each other. And that often help to build socialization for them as well, because most of the time that they're spending at home taking care of these children, their social life is being sacrificed. So, call to action. So, today, members of parliament, policymakers, I am pleading to you to help us get the word to the right people in Congress, on the Hill, in Washington, D.C., because especially in Brooklyn here, we need more social service funding. We need more social service funding for mental health access, insurance, food pantry, um, youth centers. We need all these services so we can provide a cushion for these minority families, and especially the grandparents who are not physically able to go above and beyond as if compared to their younger counterparts. So today I'm asking if you could expand services for mental health and support needs for older caregivers, right? More support for culturally responsive family support, so more program with diversity, like different languages, so everybody feel a part of and can be catered for. Encourage cross-disciplinary cooperation among schools, social service, and mental health. So this is where we need doctors, we need pediatrician, we need a social worker, we need a school counselor. Everybody needs to be on board so everybody can have an idea as to what to work for, what to do with this client or the family, what their needs are, and how as a collective we're gonna help this family. And last, as I reiterate, uh, we as practitioners, we can lobby for our clients, but at the end of the day, if we don't have the support and the resources, there's not much we can do. So please take this call of action and act on it, because we're depending on you. And for the class, two final questions. One, what are some resources, policy, and funding recommendations would you advocate for grandparents-headed families to enhance um, access to cultural responsive mental health services? One, two, identify and explain four ways in which multidisciplinary teams, such as counselors, educators, physicians, nurse NPs, and policymakers can collaborate to help these families. And that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you so much for attending, and I hope this information was informative, and not just informative, but to act on what is being said And I hope that, this presentation brings some light into the darkness.